Hello, fellow yarn wranglers. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Carrie, and this is where I talk about making pretty things with pretty string, almost always with 2 sticks, although I have other interests. In fact, I just got rid of rigid heddle loop, but I digress. If you watched my channel all last year, you know that I climbed Sweater Mountain. I actually completed a garment. One of them is up here on my mannequin today. I also made a t-shirt for my daughter. I have a t-shirt here that I am almost finished with. I am just at the point of knitting the sleeves. Speaking of the sleeves, when you work a top down in the round sweater, there comes a point where you split for the sleeves. That means you take some stitches, you put them on a stitch holder, those are your sleeve stitches, and you continue working the body. And in this section, there is a direction that you find, I think probably in every top down in the round sweater pattern. And that is to cast on additional stitches for the underarm. And it always gives the direction to cast on using a backward loop. My most hated cast on, this is my personal opinion, you might feel differently about it. I hate the backward loop cast on. It's unstable, it stretches out. Let's say you cast on 20 stitches, you end up with enough yarn for 25 stitches. I'm not really even feeling like I'm exaggerating that much. But there's another thing. When it's time to knit your sleeve, you have to then pick up stitches into the cast on edge. I don't love it. It's not hard to do, but I don't love doing it. I don't really enjoy that. I just think there's a better way, is what this comes down to. So hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, give this video a thumbs up, and find out how I avoid the backward loop cast on when I work top down sweaters. So I'm gonna just be really upfront with you about how I avoid the backward loop cast on. I'm gonna just tell you the secret right now up front, okay? I basically utilize a provisional cast on. Now don't worry. I know some people hear provisional cast on and they're like, no, I hate them. No. Trust me, if you can do a cast on of any kind, you can do the provisional cast on I'm gonna show you today. Before I can get into that though, just quick reminder, down in the description box, you are going to find timestamps to different parts of the video. So if there's a specific step that you want to look at time and time again, I got that timestamp for you. Also down in the description box, you're going to find a list of materials and resources, a link to this pattern since I'm talking about it, and all sorts of things that I think are relevant to today's video. Some of these will have clearly marked affiliate links, so if you do some shopping by clicking on one of those links, I earn a small commission, and this helps support my channel. If you don't want to do shopping, but you still like to leave me a tip, I do have Super Thanks turned on, or you can buy me a coffee in my Ko-fi link. So if you choose to utilize any of those extra means of support, thank you so much. It is so greatly appreciated. Okay, all that said, let's get on with the tutorial. So here's this t-shirt that I've been working on that I'm almost finished with, but the only reason I haven't finished is because I wanted to shoot this video and show you what I'm talking about in a real life example. So here is the stitches that I cast on for the underarm, and I used the scrap yarn provisional cast on method, which I did talk about in my video on 3 ways to do a provisional cast on. This method is super simple. It just uses some scrap yarn that is about the same weight as your project yarn and is slippery like cotton or acrylic, and your favorite go-to cast on. If you like to do provisional cast ons with a crochet chain, you can totally do that too. The tension sometimes with that can be a little tricky, so I just prefer to use this waste yarn method, okay? Obviously with my t-shirt here, I have already done most of the steps for this method I'm going to show you today, so guess what? Tiny swatch time! So I have this little sample of a top-down in the round sweater, and I've reached the point where I want to split for the sleeves. So let's just go through that process. So my beginning of round is in the center of the back. So the first thing I have to do is knit to my first sleeve. So I guess this is kind of a bonus video, because in this video, you're basically gonna also see how you split for the sleeves on a top-down in the round sweater. So here I am, and I'm at the point where I have reached my sleeve stitches. And these are the stitches that I'm going to put on a stitch holder to hang out while I knit the body of the sweater. For that, I'm going to use my barber cord, AKA just silicone tubing. And these stitches should be big enough that I can just put this here on my tip and slide the stitches off very carefully. Yes, I do have a link to this tubing if you want some of your very own. So there we go. We got our stitches here. These are the sleeve stitches, and they'll come around like this to make the sleeve, right? But we need some additional stitches here where the back and the front get joined together. Otherwise, it would be very tight and uncomfortable under our underarm. So this is the point at which the pattern will tell you to cast on X number of stitches utilizing the backward loop cast on. And to that, I say Feh to the backward loop cast on. We got a better way to do it. So I've got this, waste yarn here, and I'm basically going to make a little bit of fabric that I can work into to create the underarm stitches. I'm going to just cast on 10 stitches for this. So there are my 10 stitches. I'm gonna clip this off from the ball. Oops, maybe a nice tail. Thank you. I will pick up that yarn later, don't worry. All right, so here are my 10 stitches. I'm gonna slip them onto my left hand needle. All right, so now I have these 10 stitches up on my left hand needle like they belonged with the project. And I can now just knit right into these stitches as if they were already stitches in my project. 1, 2, 3. All right, I'm knitting the last couple stitches from the scrap fabric provisional cast on, and now I can just start knitting the rest of the stitches of the sweater. Like, it's disconnected here, but don't worry, just gonna knit into this first stitch of my back as if it was all attached. And at this point, I have now casted on my additional stitches, and I just need to continue knitting the body stitches until I get to the next sleeve. After finishing that process for both sets of underarm stitches, then I'm just going to be working the body. While I'm knitting the body, I just continue knitting around, and I've got this little provisional waste yarn here holding on to my provisional stitches and everything. So next, let's take a look at the other half of this process, which is picking up the sleeves and the magic, the absolute magic of not having to pick up into a cast on edge. How I worked that swatch is what I did for this Playdate tee. As I said earlier in the video, I'm now ready to pick up my second sleeve and get this project finished. First thing I'm going to do actually is just go ahead and get my stitches that are here on my stitch holder cable up on my needle. And the great thing about this barber cord is I can just take the tip and put it right into the cable itself. And then my favorite part, look, just slides back onto the needle so easily. There. Okay. So those are back on. I'm now ready to pick up my stitches. So I want to explain how I have my sweater oriented so that you can see what's going on. Here's the top of my sweater. Here is my cast on edge. And I'm right now looking at these pink bumps, okay? And they look like the running threads. What I'm gonna do is I turn the work upside down, right? And these pink bumps look like purl bumps. Those are my provisional stitches that I made when I first did this cast on. So I'm gonna just take my needle and I'm going to pick up from underneath. You can pick up from underneath, you can pick up from over top, whichever you do is fine, just be consistent. So pick up from underneath each of these pink bumps. Go. All right, so those are all my stitches picked up. Now that these are all safely on my needle, I can unravel my waste yarn here. If you want, you could cut the waste yarn away, but I think that's kind of dangerous. I wouldn't want to accidentally cut my project yarn. It's just easier and safer to go ahead and just unravel the waste yarn. And I got the two ends here, so I just got to take this one end here and take it out, and boom, I'm unraveling. All right, there it is. All of my stitches are now up on my needle. I have all my underarm stitches are here. These are part of my sleeve stitches now. All I have to do now is join in a ball of yarn. When you join in a new ball of yarn, you usually just want to have it in the middle of the underarm stitches, but my needles right now are at where the join is between my body stitches and my underarm stitches that I just took off the waste yarn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just slip some stitches onto my right needle to get to the middle of my underarm stitches. 4. Okay, so I've got half my stitches. Just put those over there. I'm now in the middle of my underarm stitches and I can join in my new ball of yarn. Hey, Ed and Carrie here. A quick note. When you split for the sleeves, no matter what kind of technique that you use, you are going to get holes where the underarm stitches meet up with the rest of the sleeve stitches. This is not your fault. You're not doing anything wrong. It is just knitting physics. It can't be avoided. It can only be managed. That being said, I did plan to do a bonus bit of filming where I showed how to sort of manage those holes as you join in the yarn, but my overhead camera went out and the video was getting long anyway, so I'm gonna just save that for a future video. But I did want to mention that when you run into this, just know that this technique is not what's causing the issue. It's knitting physics. And yeah, let me know if you have any tips or tricks about managing those holes at the underarm. I'd love to hear how you do it. I really do prefer this method over the backward loop cast on. I feel like it avoids all the things that annoys me with the backward loop cast on and gets me a really nice result that is not complicated to do. If you want to learn more about doing provisional cast ons, whether it's using a waste yarn or crocheted chains or what have you, I actually believe I have an entire playlist now of videos about provisional cast ons. I'll be honest with you, I know some people really hate provisional cast-ons, but I personally love them. I think it's such a useful skill to have, to know how to do different ones, when to apply them. There's all sorts of situations where a provisional cast-on becomes really, really handy, and one of them is definitely when working top-down sweaters and you have to split for those sleeves. So I love me a provisional cast on, and if I can utilize that in place of a backward loop cast on, I will all day, every day, any chance I get. What about you? I'd love to hear from you. What is your preferred method for casting on stitches for an underarm, or do you have any tips or tricks that I did not cover here today? Or do you have any questions? If so, please let me know down in the comments below. Liking, sharing, commenting on videos are all great ways, free ways to help support my channel. It really does let YouTube know that my videos are worth checking out. Also, speaking of support, please make sure that you are subscribed and you've hit that notification bell so that if you have your notifications turned on, you can be alerted whenever I upload a new video, whether it's a long form video or a short. And if you'd like to take your support just a little bit further, please consider utilizing one of my affiliate links whenever you are doing some shopping, or you can always leave me a tip through Buy Me a Coffee or a YouTube Super Thanks. Once again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have a wonderful day, evening, weekend, weeknight, whenever you might be watching this. And as always, happy health and happy making. Bye. Shooting a video tutorial. So hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, give this video a thumbs up, and find out how I avoid the backward loop cast on when I am working a bottom down, top down, top down. There we go. Shit. Oh, I lost connection. And like I said earlier in the video, I am now ready to I'm gonna have this handmade t-shirt to wear in the summer. It's February right now when I'm shooting the, oh, hair fell out. Oh, hair is falling out. Wait, is my ponytail? Is that better? Did you notice the pink is back? Pink is back. Back again.